He's not a cop, he's a human being.
Breaking news out of Riverside County tonight, where a CHP officer has been killed and 2 others hurt in a gunfight along the 215 freeway. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Barbara Lee Edwards.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. The devastating series of events started around 6 tonight in the area of East Ridge Avenue and Box Springs Boulevard. News
8's Amanda Shotsky is live with video just into our newsroom showing how the danger unfolded and new information released less than an hour ago. Amanda?
We just got an update from law enforcement in Riverside. They were able to confirm that there are 2 CHP officers still in the hospital tonight. One is in critical condition. The other sustained minor injuries. And unfortunately, a 3rd CHP officer has died from being shot multiple times when a driver unexpectedly pulled out a rifle and started firing at law enforcement. A dramatic scene on a Riverside freeway. A routine traffic stop turns into a deadly shootout. This video actually captures the gunman as he fired off rounds at officers, then ducks behind a vehicle.
There we have 3 CHP officers that were struck by the suspect's gunfire.
According to police, it started around 5:30 Monday evening. CHP had pulled over the driver of a white truck on the 215 freeway. They were in the process of having it towed when the driver pulled out an assault rifle and started firing.
During that traffic stop, at some point, the suspect driver produced a weapon and fired upon that officer. A call for help was put out.
Several agencies responded while the gunfire continued. 3 officers were struck. You can see one injured officer being loaded into a squad car. Another was taken to the hospital by helicopter. We've also learned that one of those officers did not survive. The suspect was also injured in the shooting and later pronounced dead. As to what prompted the violence, that remains under investigation.
All of our agencies examine every officer involved shooting in great detail to learn what lessons can be gleaned from those incidents and how we might hopefully be able to prevent a tragedy like this in the future.
And what you're looking at is a scene, an aerial view just outside the hospital where the injured officers were taken. There's a huge crowd of law enforcement that have gathered there to pay their respects to those who were injured and those who lost their life. In traditional fashion, we're told that when the officer's body is released, there will be a procession from the hospital to the coroner's office. So far, the names of those officers involved, as well as the identity of the gunman, have not been released. Back to you.
Amanda, thank you.